All right, welcome to this episode of The Collector's Corner, brought to you by the Washington Arms Collectors. Today's episode is Bond, Brass, and the Good Old Boys. Let's take this out of turn. The Good Old Boys. They were located in London, in Piccadilly. That building today is occupied by an international investment firm that moves the equivalent of tens of billions of dollars around the globe annually. But in 1904, it was the location of something called the United Empire Club. Now, Google bubble alert. If you Google United Empire Club, you're going to pull up a pop-up organization with various worthy philanthropic opportunities. They claim to be the descendants of the original United Empire Club. I would contend the DNA is really quite different. The United Empire Club did not exist to further an empire of commonly held human values. It was instead designed to further the British Empire. They wanted the British Empire kept great and made greater. Now, the members of the United Empire Club met at this clubhouse in Piccadilly. And what they would do is they would recline in comfortable leather armchairs. They would drink gin and tonics. They would read freshly ironed copies of the London Times or the St. James Gazette, and they would indirectly participate in trade negotiations. You see, they advocated for higher tariffs on imported goods. They wanted to protect the British tradesmen. The British Empire must be made greater and greatest. Bond. The Bond I'm speaking about is not Sean Connery or even Daniel Craig. It is this whippet-thin man, Captain Frederick M. Lely. Lely was a member in good standing of the United Empire Club, and influential members of the club influenced his career. Now, his rise in military rank was swift but not unprecedented. What was remarkable was that with the outbreak of World War I in 1914, Captain Lely was moved from a conventional military unit to something called the Political Services Corps. And here our story takes a dramatic turn, perhaps akin to a low-energy version of the graphic novel The Kingsman, or the 2015 movie of the same name. For the Political Services Corps, I'm convinced, was actually in part an undercover agency. Now, if you're an undercover agent like James Bond, you need an undercover agent's weapon. If you're James Bond, you get a Walther PPK like this is. If you are Captain Frederick M. Lely, you instead get a Webley Mark III, like this. This, according to the records of the Army-Navy Cooperative Store in London, is in fact Lely's revolver, which he bought in 1914. The Webley Mark III is done up in tropical nickel, perfect for use in a tropic environment. It is chambered in the .38 Smith & Wesson round, and it also has a lanyard ring, a feature many times of military revolvers. Now, it is small, elegant, and concealable. Unlike the PPK, it has a butter-smooth trigger pull. Brass. The brass I'm talking about is not a military bureaucracy or even the boldness of spirit that might be required of an undercover agent. Instead, we're talking about a seaport named Brass in Nigeria. For it was in Nigeria that Captain Frederick M. Lely was stationed and where he carried out the work of the Political Services Corps and the work also of the United Empire Club. What was Lely's work? He was to produce propaganda advocating the war effort. He was to make the native population seem as if they were behind the British Empire and the British King. But he also used a budget of thousands of pounds monthly to purchase native land. What was he striving to do? He was striving to keep the vast resources of Nigeria out of the hands of the nefarious Kaiser Wilhelm. Now, interestingly enough, about 20 years before Lehi's time, there was another episode of trade negotiations. It was conducted by this man, who is pictured in a dugout canoe with his royal entourage. This is King Coco of Brass. King Coco had a rather different approach to trade negotiations. He took British hostages, and when the British Empire would not agree to the trade terms that he requested, he killed the hostages and ate them. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Collector's Corner. Please stay tuned for further episodes, and until then, keep your powder dry, your money ready, and both eyeballs scun for those fantastic bargains and historical items you might find on the tables of the Washington Arms Collectors or of our sister organization, the Oregon Arms Collectors. Thank you.